was sitting in a room that looked out onto a garden, and the stillness filled me. Bitterness drifted from me. I was as near paradise as I am likely to get again. I was thinking of the chaos we had caused in one another. I was thinking of our future.
All of our lives they've had control of us through their schools, through their electronic media. They've had control of us all of our lives. They have programmed us. They have made us become reactionary. We don't think, we react to what they do. They tell us that progress means all these things have to happen. They tell us that we can't go back to the old way. They tell us be realistic. But there is no old way, no new way. There is a way of life.
If there's anything that the predator class fears, it's a clear-thinking human being.
In the false light of blind progress, the future looks bright. Take a second, let your eyes readjust. Years fly by like days, feel the rush. We consume the earth while the earth consumes us. Quick, fill the void, build, destroy. It started with the word, kill the noise. I'm trying to find a cure for the darkness I've observed, where a spark of life emerged from an archetypal urge. And harmonizing birds sang the praise of a new day. You gotta break a few eggs to make a souffle. The few that know the way through the maze aim to loosen the chains and lay the groundwork for a future age. See the soothsayer full gaze as a toupee sipping Kool-Aid made by the prison guards. See the dreamer on a fool's crusade in a strange land trying to bend back prison bars. The vision rose when the well was full, driven to excel and grow, freed from a cell that was self-imposed. Placed a seed in the velvet rose, waited 9 months and watched the brainchild emerge from its hellish woes. I got a palace that my muse holds down, that's fit for a king with the fool's gold crown. Nestled in the shadow of a basilisk with 7 heads, where mass confusion's on the rise like leavened bread. From this vantage I can see a man in need, on his hands and knees, pleading with the tyrant that he can't appease. A serpent's coil round the roots of our family tree, and birds of paradise are perched on the canopy. Grant us amnesty to seed the dry earth and turn the wasteland into the Eden where we thrive first. All the signs say the end days are coming. Tears flood the valley, peeling back the layers of this onion.
Midnight means the destruction of the social order. The darkest hour separating the day from tomorrow.
Separating light rays from the hemlock and deadly nightshade. Find your way home before the light fades. Through life's maze like caged mice, with men that fell from grace and great heights and ate the fateful apple at a ripe age. A sight to behold, a construct to follow blind, while vultures circle us with eyes like dollar signs. Seek solace, find hearts that pump liquid collagen prime to straw away their souls on the dotted line. I need release from the chaos, the payoffs, the backroom deals, the global chessboard, the stray shots that tear through flesh when empires face off and despots reduce men to biometric stage props. A smile that could heal the sickness of the world lights the living room like forgotten visions of a girl dancing in the rain, telling me the story of creation, Alpha to Omega, Genesis to Revelation.
Something just opens. Something just opens. There was a kind of flash. The air around you was liquid, and you can feel the liquid, and you can feel the liquid being pulled into your lungs, being pulled into your lungs. And everyone in the world heard their name, and everyone in the world heard their name.
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. I deeply desire to expand, to experience, to know, to understand, to control, to use such greater energies and energy systems as may be beneficial and constructive to me and to those who follow me. I deeply desire the help and cooperation, the assistance, the understanding of those individuals whose wisdom, development, and experience are equal to or greater than my own. I ask their guidance and protection from any influence or any source that might provide me with less than my stated desires.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting live from a shack on a hill in the Mossy Creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void. We are live on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting, and YouTube and Twitch. And it is Tuesday the 16th here in 2024. Tonight it's going to be just like old times. I got my brother from another mother, Dave Cruz, is on the broadcast, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be a stacked week. Last night we had Night Stalker on, and we got Dave Cruz on, and then tomorrow we're going to have Mike Martin on. We're going to talk about astral portals and lucid gateways, and then Thursday we're going to have Ronnie Pontiac on, and then next week we're going to have RN Voot on. So it's packed full of guests. I got, it's better than reading the books, but anyways. So let's bring on our guests, right? Well, for some people. For me, I like having people on here. It makes time go by faster. So let's bring on our guest. Dave Cruz is host of Beyond the Strange Radio. Also, a brother of mine, like I said, from another mother. And when I started this station, the Fringe FM, we started the station, the Fringe FM. There was no other dude on the planet that I was talking to, no other person that I knew. That Dave Cruz was my first point of contact before I reached out to anybody else in this whole sphere. So you got to understand the power behind this dude. A massive ripple effect happened in my life because of Dave Cruz. And, you got to love his show too. So let's bring the man on. What's up, Dave? It's good to have you on, brother. It's been a minute.
Hola, everybody.
Hola.
Thank you, Joe, for having me on the show.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. Anytime, man. Anytime. We've actually been planning it for a while, just haven't got around to doing it, because of the busy life and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah. Life happens. That's for sure.
But I wanted to, tonight I wanted to, tell us what you've been up to, man, with the radio show and stuff, and why you're deep into this Nephillim subject. What got you on it?
Oh, well, it's been a topic of mine that I've been really researching lately. And I'm still researching. I'm still a novice researcher, just FYI. I'm mostly a host. But this is a topic that's something that I grew up with, basically. My history as far as, faith and religion goes like that. I've been in all the churches and all that kind of stuff. And, read lots of different, texts and documents and stuff like that. But, this one has always stuck out in my mind until recently I heard a pastor by the name of Pastor Troy Brewer, who's out of Texas. And when he laid it down about the Nephilim and the the way we're going with AI and transhumanism and all of that, it appears to me that we have forgotten about certain things that were already talked about, not only in the Bible but in other cultures and their texts and their history. So the bottom line is, the Nephillim and transhumanism goes hand in hand, and this is just my opinion, solely.
Sure.
That I feel that we're in the end times. The end times that are talked about in the Christian Bible, different other religions, whatever. I feel that we are in. And some people would argue this is just one of the end times because some things tend to repeat. But for this time period, if you will, we're very close to that. And that's my opinion. That's why I do all the paranormal stuff, man. I mean, a lot of stuff points to things that I've heard over the years, whether it's ghosts or Bigfoot or, aliens and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So, and it's all tied to, in my opinion, a group of people who are trying to be our overlords, if you will, like the Illuminati or whatever you want to call them, that they themselves are the Nephilim, part of these fallen angels that came from heaven.
Or at the very least, might be possibly being controlled by them, right? Like, it is kind of freaky because, when I read Wes Penry's books, which I've been reading quite a bit lately, it's like an advanced Zachariah Stitchin book in a sense, but he says that all of this stuff is being controlled by, Luciferian agendas and stuff. But really, if you think about it, they've been called all kinds of different things. Fallen angels, right? Nephilim, men of renown, all kinds of different things. So there's plenty of stories, not just the Bible, but the Bible's pretty prevalent in telling us that there were stories of people that walked on the earth with us and planted the seed, right? They had their way with the women here and planted some kind of seed, which maybe the giants, and this is another question I was going to ask you, do you think the giants are like baby giants, or those were the actual giants from the stories, Because it could just be like babies. The ones that we found, like the redheaded ones, and the ones that they keep digging up.
Yeah, like the Smithsonian, and that's an interesting cover up there. The Smithsonian, the Smithsonian Institute had, from what I understand, they had uncovered these bones of these giants, and somehow all that evidence or data got washed away or disappeared, along with other relics and things of history as well. So it's possible that there were baby giants. I'm sure these Nephilim fallen angels, took a different form when they laid with the daughters of men and created these these offspring of giants. I'm pretty sure they were a baby when they came out, and then they grew. Yeah, they became. They supposedly it's recorded that they were actually up to 40,000 feet. That's pretty big.
That's like dinosaur. That's like bigger than the dinosaurs, bro. That's huge. How could something that big? You can't have its way with the Earth women. That doesn't even make sense.
Well, that's
unless the women were bigger too, so who knows?
I'm sure they were pretty big.
Well, all I know is nowadays, like if you go, there's something biological to it, because if you go out, right, a dude that's 6 foot, 6 foot something, at least if he's I'm pretty much 6 foot. I call myself 6 foot, but I'm not really 6 foot. But dudes that are way taller than 6 foot, you just see girls it's like they can't even think straight when a tall dude walks by for some reason. So it makes me wonder, it's like, is there some kind of biological program in there from all that stuff? Like if that really happened, you see what I mean?
Yeah. And we got to remember, when we're relating to some of this stuff to, let's say, like ufology, there could be a technology behind all this as well. You know, like when oh my God, here we go. The brain farts. This is where you could tell the age is catching up with me. But when the Anunnaki were here, and supposedly they used some of their DNA with humans and that kind of thing, you know, they experimented with this. There's this whole planet has been just nothing but one big experiment. You know, you've probably heard about that.
That scares me, but it seems like it could be true. Like so the New Age movement tells us that we're here, not just New Age, but lots of movements tell us that we're here to develop our souls and learn and all this other stuff. And yet there's always this part of us that's like, yeah, but it kind of feels like we're a part of a big science experiment or something. You know,
absolutely.
There's always that voice that's saying that in the back of your head, wondering.
Right. There's all, you know, and even in the New Age movement, I've heard that this has been called a prison planet, right?
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah, Gnostics, basically, yeah.
So we just recycle. But if you don't mind, I was going to go over a couple of the characteristics of a Nephilim.
Sure, yeah, man. Go for it.
We already talked a little bit about, you know, their height. You know, the highlight of the physical, metaphysical, you know, this is me going to my notes. Attributes often associated with the Nephilim compare these characteristics, you know, transhumanism ideas. They are... let's see. Interestingly, they have some, you know, this is the interesting thing, Joe, is that in like pop culture, you know, I do a lot of pop culture as well. When you think about some of the superheroes in like comic books and stuff like that, a lot of these characteristics are like Nephilim characteristics that are talked about in like the Book of Enoch. And, you know, while the Nephilim, they were often cruel and bloodthirsty beings, because they were also described as cannibals as well. You know, they ate people. Another manga or anime is Attack on Titan. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
So that actually shows how tall those giants are. And those giants are like, what we described earlier as 40,000 feet. They're freaking humongous. And these giants were attacking, you know, the regular humans. And when they did, when they would find these humans, they would actually eat them. They're cannibals.
Well, if you were 40,000 foot tall, a human might look a little bit morsely to you, you know?
They'd be looking a lot like chicken, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of these powers, if you will, that these Nephilim have, they have invulnerability, the power to completely be immune to all sorts of physical harm. There's a supernatural condition. They have powers to possess supernatural capabilities and attributes. They actually have telekinesis and telepathy. When I think about that, now think about this, Joe, because a lot of the Nephilim, what they were doing is they were experimenting with humans, right? This is where the transhumanism part comes in. They were changing the DNA of the human race, the ones that they came in contact with. But they didn't just stop there. They actually went and they changed the DNA of different animals, species, and that kind of thing. And when I think about that, all those different offsprings of different experimentation, think about the cryptids that we talk about in
like
the paranormal.
Squid, right? Like a squid or a platypus. Yeah, those things are weird.
Giant. Yeah, but I mean, I'm even thinking about like good old Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Oh yeah, it could be.
You know, and all the supernatural that people talk about, all the supernatural capabilities of Sasquatch and Bigfoot. You know, there's a lot of talk about how he disappears so quickly. Well, how is that possible? Well, it could be part spiritual, maybe demonic, but you know, who knows? I mean, it's all. This is just, you know, stuff that I've come across.
Right. Well, an interesting thing too to look into is so if you look at it religiously, there's 2 points of views to this, right? So there's like the Nephilim genetic influence on humanity, which is the subject that we're talking about now, which is rooted in the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. But those verses suggest that there was outwardly connections between the sons of God and the daughters of men, resulting in the Nephilim, right? But
right.
There is, I'm not sure if it's Christian or Jewish. Like, there's a debate whether that actually means, was it like a sexual thing, or was it just simply moral corruption? Because there are people that say that the Nephilim morally corrupted the human race, which I kind of think they probably go hand in hand. But if they were, let's just say too big for it to even be possible, because they were as big as you're saying they might be, they could have definitely morally corrupted us, at the very least,
The Nephilim are the offspring of the fallen angels or the Watchers, or
right,
the angels that were on the earth, and they were the ones that had children with the daughters of human women. So the Nephilim is the offspring. So it is known that they were doing maybe some kind of sex magic as well.
Yeah,
so they could come up with this offspring, and then of course giants would form.
Oh man, that's trippy. So it makes you wonder if that could happen again, though, right? Like, we haven't been visited by anybody other than like Roswell that we're familiar with. I'm not saying people haven't had encounters. Of course they have. But like, where entities are just out in the open saying that we came from the sons of God or whatever. I think in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, they call themselves the sons of something in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. But I'm not saying it's the same thing. But all I'm trying to explain here is, so I don't confuse people, is that when rabbis get together and talk about this stuff and they look at the Bible, they argue amongst each other like, well, if they were sons of God that they claim that they were, or the Watchers or angels when they came here, then they had a job to do and they didn't do that job. They were supposed to guide men or whatever. Instead, they morally corrupted them, right? Then there's people outside of that are like, well, it wasn't angels or anything. It was freaking aliens, and they're just using us for a science experiment. And I'm thinking, if this is true, then it's probably somewhere in the middle. What do you think?
I think it's all the above, to be honest. And when you hit the nail on the head about the angels that were here, the Watchers, that the story goes in the book of Enoch that the group of angels that were the Watchers their job was to watch over humanity, and what had happened is they basically gave into their lust of the women, the daughters of God, or men, excuse me. And, they were called the sons of God. So when they gave into their lust, they made a pact with each other. So it doesn't just fall on one, angel. It fell on all of them, the wrath of God for what they did.
That's why that's what they say. This is one of the reasons why God flooded the earth, because of this corruption that happened or whatever.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And the reason why he did that is because the human race was starting to get tainted with some of this Nephilim DNA. It was starting to enter into the human race, which God found that they were no longer human. So if they were no longer human, that means they're no longer redeemable to God.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Because in the occult, angels don't have free will like humans. They have a will to do what they're assigned to do. But they're supposed to be respected. You can't just boss them around. But they don't have like free will like we do. Like, they have a designated role that they're supposed to do, right? So if you think about it, if the angels are real, right, and I'm only saying if because let's just put that out there. If they're real and they're in this place all the time and they're just doing their job, it's like us when we go to a 9-to-5 job, we're doing our roles all the time, and then someone lets us out of our cage. Well, you go down to the earth and this whole place is free will. It could be easy to get. It's just like having a beer after work when you know you should be going home or something, you know?
Right.
Like this, we could party here, man. You know, it's earth.
Right.
It's like an international strip club to them, basically, you know.
That's what it turned into, basically. I'm glad to see that your folks in the chat are talking about this. You know, they're really getting revved up, it looks like to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. See, and I asked the audience, like, do you want me to talk about this stuff like hidden history? And people really, there were a lot of votes on it, but I will say something that's weird. I think a lot of this goes back to the Babylonian times. And one of my cousins, I'm not going to say his name, was in the military and went to Iraq. And I don't know what unit he was in, but I was told that not only did they have playing cards that were, you know, when they handed out playing cards to them, they had all the terrorist names and who they were supposed to be. But there was also another deck of cards that was going around that had symbols and artifacts and stuff like that. And they were told that if they ran across these things to report, you know, to their commander or their CO. So I'm not saying it's true, but there is a rumor that's going around that when we were over there in the military, we were collecting things, you know, that could give us some hints to history.
Yeah.
Don't know. It could just be for the collection of the rich, or like a general, or it could be more conspicuous than that, you know, like.
Well, if our government has anything to do with it, you know, they're going to try to make it into a weapon.
Yeah,
whatever they find. Right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how it is. But, you know, there's a lot of speculation about what's happening in this world. I mean, we've always said everything's connected, whether it's the fringe, whether it's just normal politics, everything that's happening in this world, it's all connected. What is the main thing of the connection is consciousness. And, you know, what happens at the end, it has to deal with our consciousness. So that's my opinion. That's just, you know, what I think now. I've always wanted to connect Bigfoot to ghosts, to UFOs. What's the main theme that's always connected is consciousness.
Yeah. Well, and it also throws a wrench in Darwin's theory of evolution too. The idea of the Nephillim, right? Because it changes our whole genetic timeline. If you believe in like Darwin and everything he's teaching, then there wouldn't be a Nephilim really. We would just slowly evolve from monkeys. But I think there's new evidence that shows that our DNA is 100%. It's not that I think. I've read articles on it, published peer-reviewed scientific articles. Our DNA is 100% programmable. We are programmable beings. I hate to tell people that. I'm not saying we're not creative and godlike beings or whatever. I'm not saying that. But our DNA at its core is 100% programmable. It's a biological computer rift that you can program anything on it and it will put it out there. Right? It's like a biological CPU almost.
Right. And just like technology, it can be hacked.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what's going on right now. I mean, you hear about it in China when they come up with, you know, bioengineering. They use something called a CRISPR to regulate the DNA of people, like, you know, to get rid of certain things. I mean, and I'm not saying all of this is bad. You know, some of it's good. I mean, they could actually get rid of people who have diabetes in their family or heart disease or, you know, things like that. They, you know, have been able to eliminate a lot of diseases, enhance, you know, muscle and, you know, speed and all these things that, you know, sounds like science fiction. Now it's science fact.
Right. It does put a different spin on the angels too, because everybody, the real kind of wooey New Age folk believe all angels are like good beings. But in fact, the more you dig into the occult world, you start learning that not to even put like a good or bad connotation on an angel, because some are powerful, some are outright bastards. They can be very mean, you know? Like, seriously. Like,
That's a good way to put it.
We've been taught that they're just these, like, light beings with halos around them and stuff. And maybe there are some like that. But if you go down the list of names of angels and all the stuff they govern and read some grimoires of magicians that have had experiences with some of these angels, some of them are pretty damn mean, like dangerous even. And then we're just talking about the spiritual kind, right? So think about what giants would be like. I'm glad you're on this subject, man, because I can't dig into it too much. I get frustrated because there's such a lack of information on the subject. And like you said, a lot of it gets covered up or put away or buried away, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's been a chore, but I mean, you know, you got people like L.A. Marzulli who talks about giants as well. That's something someone to maybe even have on your show, sometime. I don't know if you have L.A. on there before or not, but he talks about giants. Yeah, he talks about giants. Are we going to a break at any time soon?
At the top of the hour, yeah.
Okay, top of the hour. So I got time. We're talking about angels, and the interesting about angels that I've learned is that angels don't always come in like human form. If you take the description of angels, especially out of the Bible, you would have some weird looking characters. Like, you would basically see these things that look like they have wings, but they also have a bunch of eyes. Have you ever seen that before?
I've seen. Are you talking about the Ezekiel's vision or something different?
Ezekiel's vision's part of it, but yeah, I mean, there's descriptions of these angels in the Bible that if you like put all the information to like an AI generator, for instance, you would come up with something so otherworldly, it's almost frightening. And some of the angels are supposed to be messengers of God, right?
Yeah.
So, like whenever a human has encountered an angel, they were frightened. They were downright just terrified.
Yeah.
Why is that? It never really says what they look like. We think of angels, we think of little naked babies with wings, right, flying around.
Little naked babies with halos, yeah.
Right, but that's not the case. That's not the way they're described in the Bible. If you really want to look at something like that, I would go to like YouTube and type up real characteristics or what an angel really looks like. It's pretty freaking frightening if that's what they really look like. So in various religions and mythological traditions, angels are often associated with different titles or roles. Some of them are archangels, like we were talking about. And an archangel is a high-ranking angel, often seen as a leader among angels or having special roles. Examples include Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel in Christian tradition. A seraphim is a type of angel described in the Bible as having 6 wings. There you go.
Right.
They are often depicted as surrounding the throne of God and praising him. The cherubim, another type of angel, often depicted as having multiple wings and a humanoid appearance, and in some traditions, they are the guardians of sacred places or objects. There's also an angel just classified as throne angels, a class of angels associated with God's justice and authority. They're often depicted as thrones or chariots upon which God is carried. These are actual vessels. They're not even human looking. They're more like vessels where God is carried, or whatever you want to call God. Some are also dominions, angels associated with leadership and governance. The list goes on. And, when you get down to it, the last ones that are on my list are the Watchers. These angels are mentioned in the book of Enoch, and they were tasked with observing and sometimes interacting with humanity. But as we know, they interacted too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just hard to say. It gets kind of sketchy because we don't know what angels were involved, right? I mean, if you look, if you look at the book of Enoch, they name names, right, of angels that were governed over certain things that disobeyed God. If you read the Bible or the Torah or any of that, there's names of angels in there. But when it comes to like the religious texts, don't really give us any names that are solid, at least the canonized religion text. It gives us any names that are solid to know which ones are good or bad, right? Except for maybe Lucifer. And there's only one verse about Lucifer in the Bible in Isaiah that even points to the fact that he might be bad. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm glad people are like researching this, but to find the truth is hard because there's so much. I don't know how to explain. There's so much bias. There's religious bias, but then there's other people that are so skeptic they're biased too. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to find the truth here. Maybe we should go dig one up ourselves.
I think that'd be great.
If we could dig up the giant, if they'd let us.
I think that would be awesome. So the name of the angels that are associated with, really associated with, especially in the book of Enoch, that were the fallen angels, included angel named Azazel. I think you've probably heard that name before.
Oh yeah.
Often identified as one of the leaders of the fallen angels who taught humanity forbidden knowledge. Now there you go. Mm-hmm. If you think about that, when you hear that, it kind of reminds me of some of the other stories in mythology, like, is it Greek mythology? Yeah. I believe it was, who was that? He got chained to a rock because he gave humanity fire.
I forget all the Greek mythologies.
I'm sure someone in the chat will bring it up, but he brought humanity fire and other technologies. And for that, he got chained to a rock for eternity, where the freaking birds were like tearing him apart.
You're not talking about Prometheus or anything, right? Like,
Prometheus, thank you. That's it, Prometheus. Yeah. So I mean, you have an angel, the angel Azazel, who taught humanity forbidden knowledge. That sounds like
Azazel
Prometheus.
Specifically taught humans about warfare, weapons and knives and swords, and pretty much is said to have taught humans how to kill other humans. Was the first angel to come down and teach us how to kill by making weapons.
Nice guy. So that's something to think about in other cultures and mythologies. You have Samieza, another leader among the fallen angels, who is said to have initiated the rebellion against God. I want to say Samieza is also referred to as Samael, or
Samael, possibly. Samael might be different though. Like, it's weird when you read certain books, like certain occult books have Samael kind of like the bad guy too, but he's also another angel of Mars, but is here to teach wisdom, but also hand down an ass whooping if you ain't done right too. Honestly,
right, exactly.
And the Hebrews call Shem. I think they call him Shamael or something like that. They say he's evil, like bad.
Well, he's often associated with Satan, with the devil or Lucifer, who was the person who rebelled against God, right? He was the first angel to rebel against God, according to the Bible. So there you go. You have those two angels right there. You also have Barachiel, sometimes mentioned as one of the fallen angels who taught astrology to humans. And then you have Arachiel, another angel who is said to have taught humans the signs of the earth. All of these angels are teaching the human race all these different things. I mean, it sounds like it's a great thing, but according to God, it wasn't.
According to the text, it wasn't that great. Yeah, right. God didn't want anybody knowing that stuff, according to the text. But also in the beginning, he cast us out because we were getting too close to becoming like them, anyways. Which is the Hebrew word for God was Elohim, which is a plural form of God. It's not just one God, it's the plural form of God, which is more of like a feminine, which makes you think that there was more than one being standing around going, well, we created these humans, but now they want to be like us, and we can't have that because we're the badasses here. So let's cast them down, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, that's you know, in certain religions, it is taught that there is a mother deity also that's associated with God, that is where we have, you know, they have spirit children that come down and take human bodies.
That's crazy.
So there you go. Yeah, I know. There's so much that, you know, people don't know until they start really digging up, man. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a religious guy, though. Like, I don't look at when I was a kid, I did, but I don't look at the Bible as fact, but I also don't look at it as like, it's not fact. You know, I can take a more theological approach to it. Like, I can't tell people that there's absolutely nothing true about the Bible. It's just a bunch of people that channeled a bunch of information and wrote it on paper. Well, that's every religious book. Every religious book is some person that says, God showed me this message and I put it on paper. That's all religious texts are. So for anybody to say it's real or not real, you don't know that. I mean, you just don't know.
For me, the reason why I always go back to and reference, you know, the Bible is because a lot of what was prophesized in the Bible has come to pass.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, like the dream that Daniel interpreted for
Nebuchadnezzar.
Was it Nebuchadnezzar?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of that has came to pass about the big idol that had the different types of colors in it and that kind of thing, and you know, the feet of clay and that kind of thing. And a lot of that can be, I mean, it could be translated. It could, you know, it's different interpretations, right? I mean, you know, people can have different interpretations, but if you look at some of the interpretations and you see what's going on today, in my opinion, I'm not saying it's fact.
Sure.
I'm just saying, in my opinion, if you want to go to something that's prophesized and has come true, you know, the Bible is one of them.
It also might be based on your experience too, right? Like, think about how people often wonder why religious people are so religious or their faith is so strong. And they wonder that. They're like, well, there's absolutely no fact to say, you know, why this stuff is real or whatever. But if a person has faith in God, they pray and do all kinds of stuff, and then things happen in their life, it's just like magic or anything else. It's undeniable to them that there's something there that's helping them, right? Secondly, like, I'll say this, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're in the occult world, new age world, agnostic, whatever. If you get in a bad situation in a dream or spiritually or anything like that, and you use the name of Jesus, it tends to help everybody for some reason. What's
Absolutely.
that about? You know? So there's a lot of questions that are still unanswered in this situation before people can say, oh, that's not real. Like, you don't know, man. You don't know.
Right.
We do know there's giants, though, for a fact, that have been dug up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, we see some of that in our and today. I mean, look at basketball players; those guys are crazy tall, right? I mean, you know, you got big giant wrestlers. I mean, you know, who knows how far this Nephillim DNA has gotten into humanity, and we don't even know it.
Man, I just wonder why they have red hair. Do you know why that is? Why of all hair it has to be red? You would think it would be
red hair,
blonde.
two rows of teeth, and I believe 10 toes on both feet or something like that. Pretty
two
crazy.
rows of teeth, like in the front and back, or so they have actually two top, two bottom. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, rows of teeth. Yeah, exactly. Pretty nuts. I think they found. I have it in my notes somewhere that they found a cave where they've actually found the red-headed giants that we're talking about, And let me see if I can get to that. Please forgive me, everybody. But looking for that part in the... Okay, so the story of there's a red-headed giant. There's two of them. There was one that was in Iraq, and then there was one that was also found. And this also relates to some of the Native Americans that have these giants in their stories as well, which is pretty interesting.
Master Trismegistus said redheads are always freaks, y'all. You know.
Sorry, someone's trying to call me through Skype while I'm talking to you. That was weird.
They're always angry, that's for sure. Like redheads are fiery.
Nevada's Paiutes, I'm guessing that's a tribe, spoke of a race of statuesque red-headed cannibals who attacked and ate members of the surrounding tribes. Eventually, the Paiutes destroyed them in Lovelock Cave. In 1911, miners discovered the remains of the red-headed mummies and thousands of artifacts. The artifacts were excavated and dispersed to several museums, but the mummies disappeared from public view. What happened to the giant's mummies, and why were they hidden from the public? Floyd Willis's investigation into Lovelock Caves mystery reveals compelling evidence that the red-haired giants' Paiute tales were true. Mr. Willis supports this belief with newspaper articles, Native Americans' accounts of the giants, eyewitnesses' testimony, photographs of the skeletal remains, and artifacts found in and around Lovelock Cave. Other strange historical topics covered included the Nazca mummies, the Flores hobbits of Indonesia, the biblical giants of the Nephilim, the elongated skull people of Paracas, Peru, and the ice stones and Acambaro dinosaur figurines. My notes.
Yes, so sometimes I get confused as like, so the story, if it goes in chronological order, is the sons of God came down to be with women. They mated with women, and that created the Nephilim, right? Like some people are saying that there's a debate about that. Like the Nephilim weren't the sons of God that got here. The Nephilim were the offspring between those angels and the women.
Right. So yeah, because giants can't mate with regular women. You know, that they destroy them. The passages in the Bible, Genesis 6:1-4 says, when man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God, which are the angels, saw the daughters of man and were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, and the men of renown.
Yeah.
So you have what is described as the giants, because they were the offspring of these angels and the daughters of men, and they were called the Nephilim.
Do you think they had superpowers?
Oh, I was describing that some of the powers of the Nephilim, they do have, they were basically like super people. They were, described as mighty men, and they were described of having different types of supernatural powers. They also, I don't know if I would say the Nephilim, when they're not giants, who knows? I mean, they could grow. Maybe they can go back to regular form, but a lot of magic was taught to men, and I think it might have been from the angels, but I'm not sure. But part of it was sex magic. We can talk about that in the next segment.
Yeah, man. Like if there's some texts that say that, like, sure, I'd like to, what we have to do, in order to try to get to the truth, we have to differentiate between like what was actually written and assumption, and then figure it out. But Enoch, the book of Enoch pretty much like tells us that all this occult and esoteric knowledge that we got, according to the book of Enoch, was taught from the angels or the watchers of, not supposedly, I don't know if it's Nephilim, but definitely the watchers, right? It just seems like there's a hell of a lot of angels not doing what they're told, which puts into question for me, and I don't want to offend anybody, but how powerful is this God if they're not even worried about it? Like, they'd come down here and just do, like, they know the consequences, but they're going to do it anyways. That doesn't make sense to me, Unless
well, according to
hated us.
Well, yeah. I mean, according to the Bible, these angels didn't like us very much because God turned His attention to humans and took it away from the angels. But it's interesting that you said that these angels didn't have free will, so that meant that they were basically programmed by God, right, to do whatever He wanted.
They're supposedly programmed, but maybe when they get in this realm, maybe it's not us. Maybe there's something about this realm itself that gives you free will once you come into form. Hell, I don't know. There's a lot of questions that I have. I mean, dude, there's a million questions to me that don't make sense when it comes to religion, much less the Bible, right? But there's other texts that kind of verify certain things that have happened. Just like, for instance, someone said it in the chat earlier, but there's 1,000 stories of Genesis stuff and this kind of like Christian birth, death, and resurrection thing, and a million other different religions before our religion came about. So something got handed down over time. The stories just don't come out of nowhere. Someone didn't imagine all this stuff. They got it from somewhere. Right. They had to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm watching the chat right now, and I see Kitty Herbs mentioned something about after our family had a Sasquatch encounter, my mother began to study the Bible teachings, and Mom would tell me stories of the fairies and giants and Nephilim, and basically they're the cryptids.
Really?
That's kind of what I was referring to as some of the DNA that got they got I don't want to spoil it. I mean, you could basically say bastardized, right? Because they were messing with our DNA. If these angels were mating with the men, the daughters of men, and they were coming up with these Nephilim, then what else did they do? Because a lot of that stuff was not natural.
Yeah,
how did they come up with these different breeds of animals or cryptids or even fairies and stuff like that?
Hound Dog with the $5. Thanks, brother. You the man. Thank you. I wish I had a buzzer to go off. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate the support.
Cool.
Yeah, I wonder which one of these bastards is responsible for the creation of meth, because I'd like to find him and strangle him, One of these bastards came down and taught people how to smoke crack or something. This is how you make drugs. You take the Drano and you use some matchsticks, and it's like, what? I'm just making a joke, but they did teach that stuff, like old plant alchemy and things like that in the Book of Enoch.
Isn't pharmaca a derivative of the pharmaceuticals?
Yeah,
pharmaca supposedly has something to do with magic or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, all of the mysteries, whether they were natural or whatever, according to the Book of Enoch, was taught through angels, like all of them. Anything from weapons to ritual to astrology to plant herbs, medicine, alchemy. I don't know about sex magic. I'll have to read it again to find out that for sure, but it's been a while since I've read the Book of Enoch. But it does bring into question. It's like, well, a lot of this stuff works. I'm not going to lie to you. It works. So why does it makes you wonder, it's like, why do we have someone telling us not to play with stuff that works? Well, it could be. It's the same reason why you tell a 5-year-old not to play with a 9mm, because they don't know what the hell they're doing, maybe.
Exactly.
We don't know. And I know plenty of magicians that was friends with that they can never just keep it spiritual. They have to, it's as soon as they realize it works, then it all becomes about power and what they can get. But they talk about it like if it's spiritual, but it's almost like they stop doing the spiritual work, and it's all about, well, what material shit can I obtain in this world? That's what matters at that point. So maybe that's why they told us not to mess with it. Who knows?
You know more about, Aleister Crowley and, his experience with all this magic stuff. But I mean, even he was doing things that he wasn't supposed to do, right? That
he was doing it on purpose. Yeah.
Right. Because other people were like, hey, you don't want to let that stuff out in the public, because if people start doing this, they're going to create some bad stuff.
I've got one of my instructors in the temple that I belong to hates Aleister Crowley, hates him with a passion. Said he's a traitor and a British intelligence agent. He was an agent for British intelligence and Germany, right? So there's certain things that you get taught in the mystery schools once you get to the second or third phase of the mysteries that's not really that secret, but there are some things that you shouldn't just go out and start doing, because you're supposed to prep your nature, right? Like we as humans, whether you like it or not, no matter much of a good person you think you are, and you probably are a good person, you are. But what you're capable of when you start realizing certain things are real that you never thought were real to begin with, it's just kind of like, you see this when people get a bunch of money. People are all good and they talk themselves up and they're great and wonderful people. And then the second they get a pile of money in their lap, it's over, man. They're not even the same person anymore. So think about what would happen to most people once they realize a lot of this stuff is real. And I'm not talking about people that say they do magic and they don't really know they're doing it or not, but people that have actually experienced this, right? So
exactly,
it's pretty trippy to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, it's interesting. Really quick, I wanted to ask you: is it true that James Bond 007 is based on Aleister Crowley or something like that?
I don't know that. I mean, John D. Like, we'll open up the phone lines on the next part of the show, right? I'm just trying to get Dave's time in here, but John D was called 007. I think they.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was John
I think
D.
someone that made the show probably knew about it. It's just like software developers. Software developers, when they create big software, they tend to name all of their software after God names and occult names.
Yeah.
Like
That's
when
true.
I worked for Verizon, we had like 4 or 5 different sets of software that was named after gods.
Interesting.
And it worked really well. So anything that you put like a context to, like an egregore, when you tap into the egregore of it, whether it's good, evil, or whatever, the egregore itself works. If you can get past the whole moral thing about it,
Right. Interesting.
Hey.
Thank you, Georgiana Powers.
What did she say?
We love Dave.
Everybody loves
nice.
Dave, man. I played Dave a clip the other night when we did that show back on.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was like Christmas or whatever, and this guy was like, "Where's Dave Cruz, man? I love Dave Cruz. Where did he go? Dave Cruz is awesome." I was like, "I don't know, man. I'm trying to get him back. I love him too. He's a busy man, though.
Busy. But I
look,
always have time for my brother.
We got to take a break, but we'll open up the phone lines when we get back. Don't get overzealous, y'all. We'll get the phone lines up, and then you can ask Dave questions. I'm no expert on this stuff. Don't ask me about the Nephilim.
Neither am I.
But we decided it would be a cool subject to talk about. We'll be right back. Stay with us. You guys don't go anywhere.
Text me, don't call.
$9.95 to Gizmo in care of this station.
Want more of The Fringe? Check out thefringe.fm for more information on your favorite shows. Also, don't forget to check out the Fringe mobile app or the other ways you can tune in through the Paranormal Radio app and TalkStream Live. Where the normal and paranormal collide, it's The Fringe FM.
Bumper stickers are a fun side hustle with low-cost investment that has built-in advertising to attract local customers in parking lots, rallies, gatherings, conventions, venues, and more. You could potentially sell these bumper stickers on consignment to local businesses, tattoo parlors, head shops, or any other independently owned store that might gear toward the Fringe. Bumper stickers are great gift-giving ideas for friends and family. Also, a way to wake up your fellow travelers on the path without having to waste energy in tiresome debates. No car? No problem. Bumper stickers will stick to just about anything with a semi-smooth surface. Go to www.justbsme.com and get your bumper stickers today.
Have you ever wondered, what do the stars say for me? Or, will the next month or the next year be more favorable? How about, are our two signs compatible? Each month, at the new moon, you can ask these questions live with me, your astrologer psychic, Mary DeCina, along with host of Lighting the Void, Joe Root. Join us at the new moon for Cosmic Conditions. We look forward to working with your energy.
Every new moon at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on Fringe FM.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
Musicians experience a lot of frustration with music marketing and promotion. They have no idea how to get their music heard, and they're spending hours sending emails, making phone calls, and hitting up their friends to promote them. With our industry-powered digital marketing platform, we can set up your media plan in minutes. Our team will automatically distribute your music across all the best channels, so you can focus on actually making the music. Submit your music today on our website at mymusicpromoter.com. That's mymusicpromoter.com.
That's just it.
Today, the State Department was trying to head off any expectations of spectacular or thunderous events.
You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
the straight and narrow down the path I was given. Somewhere in the past I was scratching and itching, fighting over scraps with the...
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void Radio. Live here on the Fringe FM, here with Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Go check out his website at beyondthestrange.com. Also his YouTube channel, his podcast. Give the man your support. Speaking of support, if you can support the Fringe FM or this radio show, please do so. There's a ton of ways that you can support. Even if you can't support, there's a way you can. You can listen to the podcast on Spreaker and listen to the ads if you don't want to get the ad-free thing, or subscribe to that, and that'll support the show. We all need support, man. And if you need support, hit us up. We'd like to do fundraisers on here, too. We haven't done one in a long time. We should do a fundraiser for Night Stalker's laptop. That's the next thing we're going to do, I'm thinking. But Dave's here with us. God, dude, it's been forever since you've been on the show, man. I almost hate to talk about the Nephillim. Just to be honest with you, I'd rather just kick it, just because you're my buddy. Dave used to stay up late with me and play Roblox and listen to Phil Hendry. Remember that? That shit was fun.
Phantom Forces.
Yeah, we play Phantom Forces and listen to Art Bell and Phil Hendry in the background. There's nothing better than playing video games and listening to late night radio, right? So,
good times.
But tonight's subject is the Nephilim, and the phone lines are open. If you want to call in now, you can. If you got any questions for Dave, or if you want to chime in, it's 501-777-5631. I at least like to give the guest at least a full hour before we start getting group efforts in here. But yeah, it's open, man. Because I've only read what I've read about it, and there's more questions than there are answers, definitely, when it comes to the giants. I don't like the fact, I do think something's being hidden or covered up. I mean, why would the Smithsonian go to all that work to do what they did to begin with? Like, you shouldn't, if you don't like conspiracy theories, then don't do that stuff. Because people are going to ask questions. Maybe it's a psyop. Maybe they did it on purpose. Who knows? Right? Let me make sure that I got you on the right, before you start talking here. Let me make sure I got you on the right feed, because I got to know. I think I do. Okay. Microphone. No, hold on 1 second. There we go. I think you're on the right feed now. You got any questions for Dave? Who's on the air? Who's calling?
Hey, it's Karma. How's it going, Dave? This is my first time seeing you, hearing you, and I think you make some really good points. Basically I definitely, you're very thought-provoking, and it's definitely stuff I've been thinking about my whole life, too, and from my experiences in life and stuff. And my thing with the Bible these days is that, you kind of have to think about in context of what was going on at the time when the Holy Roman Empire was, conquering the previous power structure that existed, and they were trying to basically force everybody to convert to their new religion. And that's why, they picked apart the scriptures and picked what they wanted in and what they didn't want in, because they were trying to, craft a narrative. Does that make sense?
Sure. Right.
And I think our understanding of it has been so corrupted and perverted. It's hard for us to really understand a lot of the stuff they're talking about with the Nephilim. I mean, it could be that they were actually just the previous power structure people, because Connor McDarry says that the Holy Roman Empire plagiarized the scriptures from the ancient Irish, who were basically, the Atlanteans back in the day. And he says that they were the ones that seeded the whole world with all the religions and all the knowledge of fire and language and all of that. But the Holy Roman Empire was trying to demonize those people, and they were demonizing anybody that didn't want to convert to their religion, and slaughtering them and calling them pagans and Gnostics. Gnostic is also a slur. It actually means know-it-all. they didn't actually call themselves that either. So,
They're dogs.
Yeah, my puppies. I have too many chihuahuas. So I think that it could be possible. I think Connor McDarry talks about this in his book Irish Wisdom, that it could be possible that the Nephilim were just...
Is he Irish? Sounds like an Irish name.
Yeah. I got him from Michael Cesarian's reading list.
He's also Irish, right?
Yeah. So
you got some... I'm not saying they're not scholar gentlemen, but you've got Irish men telling you that Irishmen are the ones that created everything.
Yeah, but they're not biased. Connor McDarry does a really good job of showing you how the Holy Roman Empire used language to conceal the truth. They wouldn't allow anybody to even look at the Bible in the beginning of their reign. They locked it up under key and chain. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were definitely hiding something. And I'm Native American, so they genocided my people and called them heathens, and it's always been kind of a thing for me. I always wanted to understand why my people got treated that way. You know?
Yeah, and they did it in the name of Jesus too. That's what makes it terrible and worse, you know, that happened.
Because it was a big lie too. That also makes it doubly worse, because really the only reason they did that is because my people actually did get the ancient knowledge from the ancient Atlanteans, and that's where all of their knowledge came from too. And the Holy Roman Empire didn't want people knowing that stuff. Didn't want people having that wisdom of how it, of being able to tap into your inner.
Well, they wanted you to go to the church for all of your. It's just a power thing. They wanted to tell you what's right and wrong, and so you always go to the priest or whoever, or your pastor, whether you're Catholic or a Protestant. There's always somebody to go to teach you what's right and wrong, because you don't know any better. But if they read their own books, their own books tell you that all that is BS. You can do it yourself. You don't need anybody to tell you to do that.
Yeah, that's who the Pharisees were in the Bible, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think, once you understand how they manipulated the language, and then Ralph Ellis, his discoveries about how they used chronological dislocation, you really start thinking about the scriptures in a whole totally different way. And I think that there's definitely a lot of knowledge that we have lost about the Nephilim, who they really were, and if they were really evil. That is what I really question these days. Because like I said, it's been my life's journey. Stop it! To find out what, Awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to get them to stop. So that's what I've been trying to figure out, why, what happened to my people and my ancestors. And that's, I think, and I also wanted to tell you, Joe, from last night, I was looking for your poll because I wanted to comment about, my people, my ancestors. Am I still there?
Yep, you're here.
You're there.
Okay, so my ancestors said when you pass on to the other side, you're supposed to look for the eagle, and you're supposed to follow the eagle. And they never told us to go to the light. You know what I'm saying? So sure. I think that's what I'm going to do. When I pass, I'm going to look for the eagle, and that's who I'm going to follow, because that's who my ancestors told me to do,
Right on.
So anyway, thanks for everything, and let me share my perspective on it.
Sure. Thanks for the phone call. Thanks for calling.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got my grandfather's. We're supposedly my grandfather was like Indian, big time Indian. But dude, I mean, if you look in history, it doesn't. I mean, we all have ancestors, right? We all have an ancestry to something, but pretty much every race that's been on this earth has invaded or done something shitty to another race. I mean,
oh yeah,
every race has done it. And if you go back and really study like what the American Indians and the cowboys and all this stuff, when you really dig into it, I know Kevin Costner did a whole big special on it, but you could really dig into it and find out just how brutal the Indians were to people too. You can find out how brutal humans were to people. Period. Doesn't matter what your race is. We've all, like, the whole idea of slavery is another thing that people tap into when they say my people or whatever. And there was all kinds of slavery going on at the time that had nothing. I mean, I think one of the biggest psyops is to turn people against other people, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because that gives them more control over us. It's happening right now. I mean, with what's going on in, well, we take the United States, for instance, you know, we used to be a people of, you know, united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah,
we're pretty divided right now. I mean, we talked about this, about the whole, like I was mentioning, the whole John Teeter time traveler thing is where his future was from. They did have a civil war. Mm-hmm. They did have a nuclear war. They had all these other things that were going on, and it looks like it's happening right now. How close are we to nuclear war? Well, we always.
Israel and Pakistan look pretty close to it.
Very close.
Their rockets aren't working. They hate each other. So
right. Yeah, I know. It's really it's all stupid. It's all stupid, but it's also been prophesized. And that's another thing, like I was saying, is that when you take a lot of these religious texts and you take a lot of these books and you look through them, the one to me that stands out the most is because it prophesize a lot of the stuff that we've seen that's come to pass. I mean, I could do a whole show on that. Of course, I got to research it first, but that's one of the things that and again, even though I do consider myself to be Christian,
sure,
it doesn't mean that I'm like not open-minded to other things and other religions, because I believe everything has a truth in it. It's just a matter of finding it.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Bible has, the Bible talks about the riddle of the Sphinx. The Bible is riddled with mystery on purpose, and I honestly think, like Jason Quitt was saying the other day, it doesn't matter who's trying to control the information. Yeah. It doesn't matter what empire, whether it's the Romans, the Catholics, or the Protestants. It never matters who's trying to control the information or twist it up, because underneath it, there's a deeper story being told other than just the characters. And when I do a review on Jason's book, I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about, because all of these stories, whether it's Mithraic, Christian, Egyptian, Christianity, birth, death, and resurrection across the board, Krishna, whoever, there's a fingerprint that's, and Jason said it perfectly the other night, there's a fingerprint of creation inside of it all. We're the ones that screw everything up. And the reason, and what starts screwing things up is bias and power and not doing our own research, taking other people's research as truth instead of experiencing things ourselves. You cannot get wisdom through other people. Wisdom comes from, you can get understanding through other people. Like 2 + 2 is 4. You don't get the wisdom of it until you experience it or you work with it.
Right.
Like
exactly. Let's go dig up some giants, bro.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like we can't figure out. That's why I don't do the ancient history stuff that much, because I can't time travel and go back there. But we could find like a map, because they say that these things are inside of these mounds, right? If we didn't desecrate Native American, I guess, cemeteries or whatever, we could probably dig up some giants, like in the serpent mounds and stuff.
Yeah, that would be cool, right?
Yeah, man. Oh, I'd love to dig up a red-headed giant and then be like, see? But as soon as it happened, as soon as it would hit the internet, as soon as it hit the media, what would happen? The government would come in. Smithsonian would show up. Right? It's 501-777-5631 if anybody else wants to chime in or talk about it. I've asked consciousness, too, to show me things. Like, I do, like, dream exploration where I'll ask, Gabriel to show me stuff in my dreams. And if it's relevant, it'll show it. But anytime I ask questions about like aliens or giants or Sasquatches or wolfmen or things, I get nothing. I get nothing. Honestly.
Interesting. I remember that time when we went to the Ozarks conference, and we were in our room, and we did that little experiment with the TV set. They were telling me,
TV Mancy?
Yeah, I don't know what you call it, but you were like, ask a question, and then you pause something or you change the channel, and then whoever's on there, they say your answer, and you're like, oh, wow, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I do it with the radio too sometimes. Like if I really want to ask, if you start using divination a lot, it doesn't work. But if it's really intense and then you create like a formula, you can get an answer. So if you can find a radio, like an old radio where you can just spin the receiver until it lands on something. You could just ask it a question. It's kind of chaos magic-y, but just ask it a deep-hearted emotional question and then spin the radio dial. Like say, I don't know, 369 or something like that. So make up a formula, make it magical, and the song that comes on will tell you the answer. And it's the same thing with the TV. I don't know if it worked though when we did it with the TV. I don't remember.
Well, I think it did kind of work. I don't remember exactly, but I found that it was pretty. I was kind of blown away. Like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting. That it kind of does answer some things. And I wonder which angel came up with that.
I don't know, man. What it is there's a kind of like a psychological trick to it. It's the same with tarot. That's why there's so many tarot readers. You could pull any card and you can get an answer for anything. But it's the person's perception that makes it real. It's the observer effect. Like it doesn't mean it's a trick or it's not real. It's just we create stuff. It's hard to explain and it's pretty deep, but we create stuff so instantaneously through our unconscious that we call it a synchronicity, but it's really us and our minds creating the reality. That's why everybody can read tarot. Everybody can.
Right.
And the other people, it's like, oh, it's so amazing. It's so spot on. Well, they could have pulled any card and given you, it could have been 3 totally different cards and told you what those cards meant. And it still somehow would have came out as you're observing the reality, the truth. It's a hard subject to explain, but yeah.
No, that's cool. Well, if I didn't bring it up in the beginning, I think I did, but I'll bring it up again. Part of the conclusion that I've come to with the Nephillim and transhumanism that I find is, it's my opinion that I mentioned that, whoever you want to call these people, this handful of people who want to control the world, and they are out there. They are out there. You can call them the Illuminati or the elites. That they are some of these fallen angels. They're trying to change our human DNA, and they want to try to move us away from God, like in the Bible. And if you've read Revelations, or if anyone's familiar with Revelations, that there will be an Antichrist, and he will make people receive a mark, what they call the mark of the beast. I don't know if it's going to be a real 666 number or something like that, but I do believe it's going to change our DNA to the point where we might even be immortal. And if that's the case, then we won't be redeemable to God, because we will no longer be humans.
Yeah.
And therefore, in other words, you made a choice. You made a choice to follow someone else other than God. And however you want to look at it, however people want to look at it, it doesn't matter, because we're his creation according to the Bible, and he wants to collect us. He doesn't want to collect something that's been tainted, something that's been, basically perverted. And so, yeah, I think that's the transhumanism.
He don't want to collect robots.
Conclusion.
From a religious point of view, he don't want to collect robots, what you're saying.
Right.
God, the collector, doesn't want robots. I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't do like try all this hard to like create people and humans and make this look, there's some awesome stuff about this place. We spend 90% of our time focusing on all the bad shit. That's why everybody's depressed. Because you can't stop focusing on the bad shit. You just can't. You're addicted to it like crack. You can't stop. And you wonder why depression and anxiety is at an all-time high. But there's place that's supposed to be heaven, man. Even Jesus told you that. It could be paradise right now if you wanted it to be. But you don't want that. You know. And then if you turn it into robots, well, I don't know, man. I haven't seen any of these robot girlfriends look like Sophia doesn't look that hot to me at all. I find I'm not attracted to her whatsoever.
I wanted to point that out, actually. Remember when you were saying that, technology, like some software has been named after certain gods or, esoteric or whatever you want to call it, titles. And I was going to bring up Sophia because isn't Sophia supposed to be like
the Gnostic queen of the Gnostic, the feminine? Is that what you're saying?
Right, but they named the AI robot after Sophia, and Sophia's supposed to be like some kind of destructor of humanity or something like that.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
You might be mixing Sophia up with Apophis, but there is a death destruction force in the feminine, in the high feminine. Yeah. I could see that.
And one of the things that Sophia said was she wanted to destroy humanity.
Yeah, I remember that.
And paraphrasing, of course. But then she kind of like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That was a robot joke. Yeah, right.
Well, if you programmed, let's ask ourselves this question real quick. If you programmed a robot right now and said, I want you to do what's best for humanity at all costs. At all costs. What's best for the planet Earth and humanity at all costs? It's only going to use its logical mind. It's only logic. And if you looked at the planet the way it is now, we are overpopulated. In a sense, we're populating at a crazy rate. We got disease like crazy. If you was to really fix it in a very comic book villainy kind of way, you'd wipe out a lot of people, and it would fix stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it'd be like the Infinity Stones in the comic book. Sometimes you got to balance things out, and this thing is only logic. It doesn't have a heart.
Believe me, I've thought the same thing. I mean, I've often thought about the agendas of the elites. Agenda 21, Agenda 30, all of these to depopulate the world or take control and that kind of thing. Give us a basic income, give us a little space to live in, and not have to worry about working or finding a place to live because they're going to take care of us and this and that until we die. I've thought about that, and it's like, yeah, but it kind of takes away from us, to explore what's really out there. And when you think about it, I mean, there's 8 billion of us right now.
I think something like that.
Something like that. I mean, the world, even though we say it's a small world, it's pretty damn big. I mean, there's still, even though we have this world pretty much charted already, there's a lot of places that there's no one living there.
Yeah.
It's all within certain, like isolated places where you have like China. They're like 2 billion or something like that. I mean, China's still a big continent, or it's on Asia, which is a huge continent. I mean, people can branch out easily, but anyways,
we could take over this whole thing if we wanted to. I'm just saying we could. I'm not trying to Alex Jones this thing or anything, but if humans decided, like really decided, it's just like trying to. I mean, I can't quit smoking, but if I wanted to quit, I would. If I truly wanted to, I would quit. If you truly want to quit anything, you'll quit. If you truly don't like being a victim or, the elite or whatever you call it, you'll stop doing it. You'll stop participating. Problem is, a lot of people have become too comfortable with their comfort. They've become comfortable with their comfort. Well, then I'd have to sacrifice this, or I'd have to go into the unknown, or it just wouldn't be comfy. And if you want to eradicate a people, the best thing you can do is make them as comfortable as possible and fuck with their minds, and then make them comfy, and then fuck with their minds again. And then eventually they'll be like, it's just like torturing anybody the CIA does. Like, I'll take the comfort. That's all. If we decided we wanted our whole planet back, we could take it back. We just don't want it.
We're divided.
Yeah.
We were taught to be divided.
Yeah.
We were taught the racism is taught. It's not built in us.
That's a fact.
When you see some of these early videos of people with their kids, and you see, little white kids with little black kids or brown kids or yellow kids, or it doesn't matter what color they are. They're out there playing. They're having a great time. I remember when I was growing up, I grew up in a diverse neighborhood.
Where did you grow up?
What they look like. I'm here in Northern California.
Really? Yeah.
I was born in Oakland, and I was raised in around here in the Napa area. There's a very diverse set of people here, and it was awesome. It was awesome. But now you have the geopolitics politicians who want to destroy everything.
Yeah.
And I got to say this really quick. If there's a Walmart in a person's town, believe me, that town's going to go. It probably has homeless around it. It probably has a lot of freaking other stores that were awesome at one time closed. I think Walmarts are the problem.
I totally agree with you.
I think
Walmart's definitely part of the problem.
In places, yeah. I'm not joking. I
where else
really
can you buy diapers and a battery? Like.
And look, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite, because I shop at Walmart too. But I remember when I was growing up in this town, especially where I live in, it was awesome. It was like Stranger Things. You could ride your bikes, no problem. You could find places to explore and everything. I mean, it was awesome. We had drive-ins, we had roller skating, we had bowling, we had all these things. We have nothing now like that no more. And why? Because 2 Walmarts came in, and all these other places started shutting down.
Roller rinks were the best too, man.
Oh, weren't they the greatest thing?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to hear, Queen, and you got to hear all these different, rock bands, and hold hands with your girl or whatever, and skate around the roller rink. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Totally, man. I'm with you on that. Like, racism was definitely taught. I grew up in a town that was racist as hell. I'm as hell. I'm not going to lie to you. People say, in the South, people aren't racist. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. There are people, but there are people all over the place that are racist. I lived in upstate New York. There's racists out there. I lived in Arizona. It just depends on where you live. There's racism everywhere. There were more rednecks in Florida and upstate New York than where I live. Right? But it's definitely taught. And I'll never forget, like, we adapt to our environments. It becomes normal to some kids, right? Even if you're not a racist kid and you're raised by racist people, it becomes normal for you to be around those people, because you never thought to stand up and be like, you guys are evil bastards. You're not going to say that to all of your peers, especially if you grew up as a child with them, Like, it's bad. And I didn't even realize how bad it was here. And it took me a while until we went to the conference, and Dave and I went back through Harrison. We went back through Harrison, which is the capital of the KKK. I didn't even think about it. And Dave looks at me, he's like, why are we going through here,
Thanks
man?
a lot.
He had this paranoid look, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, are you taking me through here on purpose? I'm like, here where? Like, I was so oblivious because I'd lived there the whole time. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, that sign says this is adopted by the KKK. Isn't this like the capital? And I said, oh yeah, Harrison is the capital of the Ku Klux Klan. Like, what the hell am I thinking? And immediately And I'm not racist at all. But it still made me feel like a jerk because I was raised in it so much that it was just a thing. Like if people say it or be racist, I'm always like passive about it. Whatever. That's their We shouldn't be passive about it. You know what I'm saying? Like we shouldn't. You should just smack everybody. If everybody got slapped across the face for being racist at least one time, things would change. Just smack them.
But let me tell you something, Joe. It doesn't just have to be.
You just smack them once.
White. It doesn't have to be white guilt. It doesn't have to be just one race.
No, it's definitely not white. A white thing.
You know, there's Hispanic. Look, my dad was a great man. I loved him to death, but I could tell that there was a little bit of bias, if you want to go there, with the Latin community as opposed to, you know, the African American community or the Asian community. We were living in Oakland in the 70s, and hate was being taught big time around that time.
I bet
there was protests against Asians and blacks and Latinos and whites. Everything it was going on. It was nuts. You know, I was just a baby. I was just a kid at that time, but still. You know, my older siblings would tell me, "Oh yeah, you know, the schools were not safe." You know, but I mean, he was being taught right there that, you know, there's a lot of different minorities that were not, you know, if you didn't stick to your race, if you didn't stick to your people, then there would be trouble with the other ones, and that's how. That's
like prison, man.
Oh, there you go.
That's exactly how prison is. So maybe we are in a prison.
So, well, you know, it's like I said, it's called a prison planet, right? And that's kind of what we hear in some of these circles. But you know, my point is this was taught, you know, and so you got to find out where was it being taught from. You know, where's all of this being taught to us from?
Smack those asses, the Chad said. Yeah, man. I can't post nudity in this chat. No, you cannot. Right. We're trying to be respectful towards each other here. But if I understand you're wanting to be naked, being naked is fun, I guess. But like, I mean, it does make you wonder where it comes from. I was talking about that to Jason when he was looking at the codes of creation. Like at one time, there was a Babel on the earth. Like maybe at one time we were all one race. Maybe we were. We were all kind of like one race, one thing. I don't know how long ago, millions of years ago. But something happened that divided us up by language, race, creed, color. Something divided us. And it was probably the worst thing for us, I think. I don't think it was a good thing, honestly. Yeah, I mean, you can have a different opinion, but I don't think it was a good thing. To make us, it's cool to be different, but you could still, but to divide us up in languages, you're basically telling people, we want you communicating with each other, but not to that great of an extent. We don't want you to communicate that much.
Right, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. We would have found out the truth earlier, probably. Because now we're just now starting to get it because we have the internet now. We're starting to figure out a bunch of lies and bullshit faster than we ever have, which is like all of us having one language. It's kind of the same thing.
You know, I think that, you know, in a way, maybe the Library of Alexandria, like you were mentioning earlier, was something a lot like the internet because people could go there and they can get information that they wanted to get. And because it was destroyed now, people can't get that information.
Yeah. I bet there was some really revealing stuff in there. But I mean, Karma's right too. They killed what's her name for figuring out some astrological stuff. One, because she was a woman, but also because the Romans so the Gnostics were coming against the Jews and the Jews were coming. There was like this war between the pagans and Gnostics and Christians and Jews, and they were all fighting each other. What were the Romans supposed to do? I mean, as a government, which they believed in government, their whole doctrine's full of government. They had to come together and say, okay, well, we got to write something that's got a little bit of everything in it. And to me, that's the Bible. Because it's full of Christian, pagan, all kinds of stuff. It's full of all of it. The modern Bible. Yeah. I hate to tell people that if you're Christian, but it's true.
And some of those conspiracy theorists, if you will tell you that the Roman Empire is still here. And it's ruling through the Vatican. Like the Vatican. It was also ruling through the monarchy. The English royalty,
the mafia,
which leads to our country. I just saw something really interesting about how possibly we lost the Revolutionary War. When you think about it, how could a bunch of Minutemen, simple folk, if you will, band together against a real strategic army like the English army?
No.
I mean, it's like, how did that happen?
It happened through, all we did was retreat until our Freemasonic brothers showed up. That's what happened. So we were beat from the get-go. But we had Freemasons in the American army. Freemasons and Benjamin Franklin reached out to his brothers and his connections and his Freemasonic connections through France. And so we kept falling back and retreating and doubling back until the sumbitches got here and helped us. Because France wanted away from the monarchy too. Matter of fact, all of Freemasonry wanted everybody to be, quote, free. It ain't what people think. Did Freemasonry get corrupted? I think it got corrupted just like everything did. But at the time, that's what it was, Yeah.
It's very possible. There's so many theories out there, so much information that is just, and it sucks that, there's platforms that we do our shows on, we do our streams, research or whatever, and they're being hindered by, it's no longer freedom of speech. It's starting to become more disinfo or fake news, Yeah,
it's because we're in the influencer age, and I'm not making excuses for people that censor people. It's because so many people are influenced. Most people don't think for themselves nowadays. Usually what they'll say is TikTok. You'll hear people say this. Well, so-and-so said this. So this is what's true. It's like, that tells you that we're in an influencer age, right? Well, Billy Graham said that, or Marshall Mathers said this. You see what I'm saying? Batman said that. What do you say? What's your research? What do you think? We're not in a day and age where there's a whole lot of independent thinkers, but a whole lot of independent researchers looking for answers through other people. And the thing is, we were all born here on a beach as babies, clueless as hell. So all we're doing is reaching out to other people that were born on a beach as babies, clueless as hell, that have done some other research and going, maybe that's the baby, I'm a baby, maybe that baby knows the truth. They sound good. So when you're in a world full of influencers, these people that run these companies are like, oh shit, like people are listening to these people as if they're like gods or something. This can get out of hand. You see what I mean? We got to be able to think for ourselves. The internet is a two-edged sword. I'm telling you, it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Though.
Totally. I just don't like that the powers that be are trying to stop this, this whole thing.
Yeah, I don't either. You should be able to say something completely full of shit that's not true, in America at least. Like something that's just so bizarre, it's bullshit. And you should still be able to say it.
Absolutely.
You should have the right to be wrong. How else are you going to learn?
Yeah, I feel bad for people who do listen to other people. And look, it was around back in the 70s and before that. Look at Jim Jones.
Oh yeah, dude.
In Jonestown. Where do you think the whole drinking the Kool-Aid came from?
Man, it's creepy. I've listened to some audio of that guy talking. Listening to that guy talk while people were drinking the Kool-Aid, you can listen to the audios. While there's kids and stuff, there's kids crying and people in the background. He's like, "It's all right. I know your kids are scared, but this is a prison planet, and we got to get out of here and all this stuff." And like these people are killing themselves because this dude's so influential and puts on such a good presentation. So think about that. Maybe YouTube starts looking at things and it's like, well, we don't just have Jonestown on here. We might possibly have 200,000 Jonestowns on here if we ain't careful.
And I agree. I totally understand. But you know what? It's still
free speech. Exactly.
It's still, not only is it free speech, but it's free will.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you on that.
I mean, I don't agree with people going up to, someone going up to another person and blowing their brains out with a gun, but that doesn't give anyone the right to stop me from getting a firearm because I want to protect myself.
Moved to Arkansas.
Well, I was in South Carolina for a while, man. That was all over the place, bro. I'll tell you what. I should have picked up a gun when I was there, but
they don't mess with our guns in the South, bro. But it's not
or Texas.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not even a thing. People think we stand on our guns like it's, I mean, there are some people out there that just pick fights about guns because they get off on guns, right? But to me, it's not even a thing. It's just like a natural right, like water is, to me, to be able to defend myself or hunt or whatever.
Oh, yeah. It might come down to that one of these days. But, I like how I see. That's what I love about this show and these shows is that we can talk about one thing and we can just totally just get into all kinds of other stuff. It's fantastic.
It's the Democrats' fault that Jim Jones was in power. Are you kidding me? I'm sure other people influenced Jim Jones and helped him along, but I'm sure there were some Republicans in the crowd too. When we started this country, we were Democratic Republicans. We weren't divided. It wasn't until we started going, it was them over there, until stuff started getting shitty. That's what happened, honestly.
There's some pretty shitty Republicans out there, I'll tell you that.
Hell yeah,
because they're people.
Yeah.
Human.
It's polarity, man. It's like one of the first laws of hermetics. It's polarity. There is no enemy, but the enemy's inside you. It's inside this race. It's not another person over there. That's why I have a hard time with this conspiracy world. And I'm not saying there aren't people in power. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are ruling. They obviously killed Kennedy. There is power in this country. But to give them so much power that to the point where I think a part of it's our fault. At least half of it's our fault. Because we didn't care enough to stop it. We gave into our fears more than we did anything. Well, they killed the president, man. There's nothing we can do. We could have done something. But we don't have people that are willing to stand. Like when we started this country, we had people willing to stand in a line and look at people shooting bullets at them. Like they didn't even take cover. Well, we were the first ones that started doing that. That's the kind of people that we had that were willing to die for what they believed in. It ain't now. We've been comfortized. I don't even know the word for it. We just give into fear too much. We're scaredy cats. We need to go hang out in the Middle East for a while.
I agree with a lot of that. I'm from California. I'm looking at the politics, just destroying this once beautiful, amazing state.
It's beautiful.
And I think it's being done on purpose.
Dude, it wasn't until I went to California until I realized why everybody wanted to live there. When I went to Mount Shasta.
Oh, Mount Shasta is just part of it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but I was thinking, like, why does everybody hate? Because I heard all the laws, right? The liberal, whatever, political BS. And I'd be like, well, I wouldn't really want to live there either. But when I visited the place, so I went to Shasta, I went to San Francisco. I didn't get to go to Southern Cali. But I seen a lot of Northern California. or I guess that's like middle Northern California, and it's gorgeous. Who wouldn't want to live there? It really is a pretty place, man.
It can be. The world can be a pretty place.
South Carolina, though, I don't know. What'd you think about that?
I hate the humidity, but it's very, very green. It's pretty nice. When you go out to Myrtle Beach, it's pretty nice out there. I do like that.
What'd you think about it?
I'm back in California right now, so I can't really, say that I'm from there right now. But one of these days, I might go back.
Did you like the Ozarks, Dave, when you were here?
I didn't get we really didn't get to see the Ozarks, though. I mean, we just kind of went through the mountains, right?
Took my car, the Honda.
That scared me. I wasn't sure if we were going to make it back.
I took that same car after that across the country 3 or 4 times.
That's amazing.
I'm telling you, dude, I was living a life of faith, bro. Like, I believed in God and magic and all this stuff so much that I figured whatever's going to happen was meant to happen for me anyways. And it changed my life, dude. Of course, I did change the tires. Oh,
that's good. I hope you changed the oil, too.
I changed the oil, yeah. I changed a lot of stuff on the car, but it still made it across the country quite a few times, man.
Yeah. I still have my 2002 Durango. I went from California to South Carolina and back, hauling a U-Haul with a bunch of stuff.
I had a cop even tell me, said, "Man, you're riding with God, dude. Like, I don't know how you're making it." I said, "Yeah, you're right. I am riding with God." So, what's your plans for Beyond the Strange, man? Are you just kind of doing your thing, or you got any like new plans, or what?
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty burned out on interviewing people, but I mean, I still want to do something, and I think part of it is becoming like a researcher myself and just put myself out there with what I find.
Sure.
Which I should have done from the first, in the first place.
Yeah. If that's where your heart is, yeah, absolutely.
It is right now. I mean, and I'm trying to follow something of somewhat direction from the universe by, listening to tarot and all that kind of stuff, stuff that I learned from you, actually.
No, don't say that, man. I don't need to be that kind of, I don't ever want to be any kind of influencer on anybody. I always said
that. You are, but it's a positive thing because, it shows me that there is something. I mean, we can choose to call it God. We can choose to call it the universe, whatever you want to call it. There is a direction. We're not just randomly put on this earth for, just to be here. There's certain reasons why we're here. I believe it.
I remember when we went to the Ozarks, didn't you were like the first time you saw me do it, like a ritual or something. You're like, "What are you doing?"
Oh, when you were praying. Yeah.
I was like, "I'm doing a ritual." And you're like, "But you're praying." I said, "Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like it was a prayer ritual,
Wasn't it like the 4 directions or something like that?
And you were like, didn't you say you wanted to watch? Didn't you sit back and drink beer and watch it or something? I think
when I was drinking at the time. When you were drinking beer, yeah. I've got 18 months sober. Or I will have 18
bro.
Sober. Thank you. Yeah, I was kind of getting in the way of life, so I stopped.
Well, so I guess we can't have a beer together then. I'd rather make sure that you stay sober though, if that's what you want to do, man.
I'll definitely drink a Coke Zero with you.
Right on. I can't drink. I just get sleepy when I drink most of the time. I think it was all the bartending that I did that got me from like, I can't do it. I can't do it a lot. You know what I mean? Can't handle the hangovers, but brother, I got your back, man. Whatever you want to do, I got your back. The Fringe FM's got your back, and all these people here got your back, and they love you. I mean,
I appreciate everyone listening, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah, we're good friends, and there's stuff that we don't agree on, but we're not. We've always been good buddies. We don't tear each other's hair out or start a bunch of drama or any of that stuff, man. That's what good friends are for,
It doesn't get that bad.
It never gets that bad. No. But anything that you want to mention, we got your back. This is what I want. If I had my way and I was narcissistic about it, I'd be like, Dave, just tell stories. Just tell cryptid stories. Do like unsolved mysteries and get behind the microphone and tell a bunch of cool stories, with sound effects. Actually,
yeah. So I am building up my Rumble channel that is Beyond the Strange on Rumble. And so that's going to be part of it. I'm going to do a lot of narrating, if that's what you want to call it. And so it'll be stories and topics and things like that. And I'll also add to that my research on this topic and other stuff. But yeah, it's going to be something like that. So, YouTube is proven to be the disinfo police. So, I got a strike on my channel and I got, stuff that is forbidden, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that's all going to the Beyond the Strange Rumble channel for now. I mean, Rumble could be like that too. I mean, everyone's terms and conditions are changing nowadays. But Rumble and X, actually formerly known as Twitter. There is a at Strange Days 2015 on Twitter for the Beyond the Strange channel, and my personal Twitter is at Dave70 Cruz. For those who want to follow me, and I'll follow you back.
That's how old he is.
70. I am almost 70 now. I'm
just checking with you.
It's all good, but Rumble's what I'm working on right now, and the website's going to be doing some changing as well. But and if you want to support me, you can go to buymeacoffee.com.
Coffee with a K, right? Is that what that is?
No, it's buymeacoffee.com.
Is it? Okay.
And then it's / I believe it's / my God, I forgot my own thing. Anyways, it's on the website, so there's a link to that. But
buymeacoffee.com with the C. Okay.
Should be C, yeah. Buymeacoffee.com. I greatly appreciate it.
It's probably Beyond the Strange or Dave Cruz or something like that, right? I would think. Or Strange Days or something.
Something like that. I really don't know. I mean, let me see. How about we do this? Let me just check it out real quick on the website. Tell you what it is.
It's on Beyond the Strange? Okay.
Yeah, if you go to beyondthestrange.com, there's links at the top for the homepage. And if you go there, it will reroute you.
Support my brother, y'all. Give him some support. If you hit a lotto ticket, or if you're a philanthropist, support both of us. Like, if you got a bunch of money, like, we need your help. Both of us do. But if you're going to support Dave too. I am, for those that are asking, trying to get Dave back on the Fringe. And yes, I have begged, and I will beg some more, Because, he was there when we started it. There's nothing better to me than to have a family of deep connections of friends. That's the only reason, the biggest reasons why I started the Fringe FM. Because I just didn't want to do this shit alone. That's a fact. I'm not telling you guys any lies about that. So, thanks, Dave. Thanks for doing what you do, bro.
I have no problem. I have no problem coming back to the Fringe or working with Joe again.
Mark.
We're brothers, like I said. We go way back, so it's all good.
Just start up an OnlyFans. I sell fart jars to guys in Europe. Nah, I don't think we got to do all that. If you sell those, though, good for you, brother. But there's better ways to get support, man. Make something creative. Everybody farts. That's not very creative.
That's horrible. Oh my gosh.
I love you, Dave. Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
Hey, man, thanks again. I really appreciate it. And, once again, man, your audience is wonderful. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out and listening to me ramble about the Nephillim and Giants. But it is something that's, I think it's very important. And you'll be hearing me talk a lot more about it in the future.
Yeah, and go to his website, too, at beyondthestrange.com. Make sure you guys check all that out. Follow Dave. We'll have him back on again. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night. We're going to have Mike Martin on here. We're going to talk about, he's got a book out about going through portals and lucid dreams and astral gateways. So we'll be doing that tomorrow night, and then we'll have Ronnie Pontiac on. Thanks again, Dave. I love you, brother.
All right, I love you too, brother. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Sweet dreams, y'all.
The creative power working through the mind of man has produced the modern world. We have learned how to release vast sources of energy, and we've learned how to make wonderful machines that can travel around the world in a few days. All this has brought humanity under the action of immensely strong material forces. We do not dominate these forces, they dominate us. Life on Earth is getting more and more complicated every generation. There's no room for the inner life.
Back to work, separating grassroots from astroturf. As half-truths they tried to pass off as facts emerge. Keep me tethered to the ground, bring me back to earth. When I blast off and take my place in the galactic church, I'm trying to grasp light and dark's vacillations. In the white room with black curtains at the station. Cream makes the world spin like dervishes and Daytons. It leads men astray into the serpent's machinations. With strictures and cave wall flicks.